Are you able to hear me? So as I told you yesterday, please use your chat box for communication, man. Okay. Your microphones will be in mute state so that we don't get disturbed by the external sounds. So yesterday we started understanding what is a basic flow a system goes through and why and where exactly the database management system developers will come into the picture. And being an Oracle developer, we will be learning two kinds of tools. One is your SQL Star Plus, the next is your PLSQL, to see that we can develop anything that is expected by a real-time implementation from scratch to the end of the database constructs. But all this has never happened in one single day, man. So there are multiple different number of database models. Few models, they exist even today. Few models, they became obsolete. Some are deprecated by their nature. So it all depends on the timeline on which you're actually trying to operate on the process. Be very, very clear about it. So the whole process started from 1960s. With every 10 years, you can say that it is one level of a fundamental enhancement in the database management system research. Now I'm keeping the timeline up to 2000 because up to 2000, whatever has happened is a revolutionary mechanism of the database management systems. After that, technically by adjusting to the construct of the technology and the requirements that are arising, a fundamental changes have been done. But a platform of standardized database management systems was basically up to 2000. Now, initially, when you're operating in the databases, flat file management systems came into the picture. Where these flat files, they were very actively involved in managing the data from 1960s to up to 1981-82. Now, when you take a flat file, the biggest problem is your data is highly unstructured by nature. Relations cannot be managed and they cannot be identified so easily. And every information can be split into one individual file, making the process of very large scale projects to be dealt with file searching itself. And finally, the security aspects, the scalability aspects, the robustness, so many number of things get involved. So they were very actively in development up to 1981-82. I don't say that flat file systems are not existing today, but they are legacy in the current state. Legacy means the old systems that have been already developed, those systems are in continuation and they are in support and maintenance. The main problem with flat file systems is you cannot identify the hierarchy between the objects of the business. Hierarchy between the objects of the business means one simple thing I'll tell you. If you want to conduct a sale, can you conduct a sale if you're not having the information about your inventory or stock? No. So before we execute a sale, in the hierarchy, checking the inventory or stock is more important. Yes or no? Now, such kind of hierarchy of relationships, flat files cannot manage automatically. To overcome this kind of issue, then came hierarchical databases. Where hierarchical databases, they started around 1968 and they were in active development and implementation up to 1991-92, you can say. Now, hierarchical databases, they were better in understanding the relations and organizing of the data when compared with flat files, but they need a heavy lot of programming through pointers. Systems that were developed technically after 1990-91, you do not find any hierarchical database management system getting developed in the process. but already developed systems, they are existing and they are continued in support and maintenance as legacy. Now, in hierarchical databases, we have one particular problem. The problem is a child can always communicate with the information of the parent, but parent communicating with the child is very practically impossible. Another biggest problem is a child to child communication is never established. Means directly we cannot do. To overcome this communication construct of relations that are expected, where the relation should not only be in a vertical segment, it should be in horizontal segment also. When they realized, they started researching and developing network models. Okay, network database management systems came. This network database management systems, they started around 1970s and they were actively existing up to around 1991. Even though network systems were more intelligent than the hierarchical, they existed as legacy only up to around 1999-98. After that, you don't find network systems existing in the markets. They are, even legacy systems are not there in the market. Development is almost all closed. Sir, why? Network systems will work with very huge number of pointers, because of which security is one of the biggest concern you will face when you come to the public internets. When you come to the public internet working environments, security becomes a very big hazard when you're dealing with your network systems or network database management systems. Therefore, currently they are basically not there, but you should understand, slowly starting from around 2020, they are picking up with a new name called as blockchain. The world of blockchain is purely a network model with more security enhancements that have been designed upon the process. But blockchain is also not so heavily, it is in demand currently, okay? Because it needs a different kind of infrastructure and architecture. And blockchain is not something like a straight software. It is a concept. You have to implement it using your own software development skills. Now, whatever best I have in flat files, whatever best I have in hierarchical, whatever best I have in network, I cannot keep them in one single place. That's where the research went. And from there came the idea of relational database management systems. So when you speak about RDBMS, you can just consider that the best of flat file, hierarchical, and network are put together into one single place. The practical state of relational database management systems, they came around 1981-82. And even today, they are very actively involved in development. Technically, you cannot expect RDBMS to have legacy, because any project in real time, its first level implementation will begin with RDBMS analysis only. The reason, when you come to the industry expects that you are at least a relational database management system developer. RDBMS expertise they expect from you definitely. So that's not you cannot compromise on that. Then the world started understanding that some critical areas in database management systems, they cannot be developed at any point of time using only RDBMS. Then came, after 10 years of research and limitations that have been identified, object-oriented databases, they started coming into the market. Somewhere around 1991, they started, and even today, object-oriented developments are actively involved in the process. But once again, a construct of hurdle came. The industry started understanding that everything we cannot give as a solution using object-oriented, and everything we cannot give as a solution using relational. Then within a span of just 1 year of difference, the world started getting into object relational databases, which started around 91, 92, and they are actively available in the markets today. Then the world started understanding one thing. Databases can always help you in conducting your business. Means how best you can conduct your business by operating with the data that is arising in the business. Your concept of database management systems can do. But the end user always expects that he doesn't want to only conduct his business, but he wants to analyze his business for the next level enhancements. Then the world of data warehousing started. On the theoretical construct of research, data warehousing has started around 1990s itself. And it was actively involved almost all from there for any analytics field. Wherever you feel that you have analytics to be conducted for predictions and understanding the business by future trends, data warehousing plays a very, very vital role. Then the world went into web-enabled databases. Web-enabled databases, they started surging after Java came into the picture, but their ideological identification is there around 1990s itself. So that's your entire timeline and the landscape of your constructive database management systems. Now, what happens from our class, I want you to understand very carefully. We will be definitely looking into this relational standards, end to end of the requirement very perfectly, starting as a very basic beginner, where I'm considering that you do not know anything. In that way, I'll start and will become an expert who can work with 3 to 4 years of experience in the industry. Keeping our concentration on relational database management system, we will even discuss how hierarchical data can be managed, network data can be managed, object-oriented data can be managed, and object relational data can be managed. We will also cover certain aspects that makes a database developer to work in data warehousing projects with certain standardizations provided in Oracle. So our landscape of course, I think it's very vast. Sir, why I should take this much of course? The simple thing is, you are just looking for your job, you don't need this. You are thinking of keeping your job secured and confidently work for next 5 to 10 years in the industry without looking back for another technology. You have to come along with this syllabus. So my friend is learning databases, but technically is not learning all this. Now I don't care about your friendsmen. I only care about my students who come to me. They should be the best with the highest and the best opportunities in the market. So only flat file and web enabled we are not covering in the process, because flat files need a separate kind of programming languages and web enablability needs the total framework of web architecture starting from HTML, XYZ and all those things. I don't think we have any contract on that. What we can do with SQL and what we can do with PLSQL, we will technically try to do through our classrooms. Am I clear with you? Hello. So I think the landscape of our syllabus and our responsibilities are very clear, man. Now getting into the constraint, when you say you are learning any database, man, I think finally your job is to develop a solution and you have to give to the end user. Am I correct? After learning any particular software, finally you have to develop some solution to the business and you have to give to the end user. Do you agree with me? So anything you develop using a database oriented implementation, we call that as a database application. Okay. So we are actually what? We are database application developers. So what do you exactly mean by database application? So when you deal with the construct of database application, the most important thing you should remember, it is a set of related programs. Okay. It is a set of related programs which are technically having the ability to perform series of activities on the construct of the database user. Means the end businessman, what he is expecting to complete in the concept of his business process, all those programs, if you write and if you integrate and if you execute them, that becomes one database application. Am I clear with you? Means by the time we complete our entire course, you should get the confidence that you can work by participating in any project where your services are expected for developing database application, where your database application has only four activities. When one is create, adding new data to the database, read, read current data that is existing from the database, modify, that is update, update or modify the current data that is existing in the database. Finally, delete, delete unwanted data that is practically existing in your database. By the time you reach your industry, man, if you can tell your industry and if you can confidently make your industry believe that these four crude operations, you can execute them with the highest level logical skill sets, you are into your jobs and you will be part of your jobs without losing your job for even 5 to 10 years or 20 years. Now, whenever you develop an application, any software in development, is it basically done with only one single person? Hello. Any software in development, can it be done by only one single person? No. There should be multiple different number of people participating. Yes or no? Now, don't you think that each person participating in the project is having one kind of role and responsibility? And these people who are participating in your projects, they're called as actorsmen. So who are the different actors in database application? The first level actors are application programmers. So application programmers are nothing but the people who write programs in various programming languages to interact with the database. So from our classroom, we are definitely expected to be an application programmer, but our programming language is what? Our language is what? Our language will be SQL and PLSQL. Okay? Our language will be SQL and PLSQL. Now, one of your friend can be an application programmer in databases, but he may be using Java. That is up to him. Now, application programmer's responsibility is to develop and design the entire business logic for executing the transactions with integrity. Means 100% quality whenever your program is firing or executing in relevant to every activity that is expected in the business. And application programmer should have the ability to manage all the required relations in the business. He should have clarity of understanding every relation that fundamentally exists and arises within the business. By the time we complete our course, you should develop these skills by using a language called as what? SQL and PLSQL. The next are database administrators. So database administrators, in short, we will call them as DBAs. And these database administrators, they are technically responsible for managing the entire database management systems. Your DBA takes the responsibility of managing entire structure of the database application, security, upgradation, and patching of the database management system software. He is the person who is highly responsible for taking the backups and recovery of the actual DBMS and the database application. And is also a person who is responsible for periodic maintenance for managing the performance and optimization. If you are keeping your experience in your resume and if you are going through the construction, you don't need to be DBA, but certain responsibilities of the DBA and application programmer should have. And that 20% of the responsibilities of the DBA that are essential for application programmers, we will discuss those things also from our classrooms, taking a language of SQL. Is that point clear? Hello, are you able to hear me now? We lost the voice in between, man. Yeah. So we are not database administrators, man, but technically try to understand. We will definitely learn the construct of the responsibilities as an application programmer. What you should know about some 20% of DB activities, we will know them. The final thing is the end users, man. Now, end user means many times people will think that end user means a client. Client is one kind of end user. In software development also, in your development team, you can have some end users. Say you developed one particular program. Now you tested that particular program, everything went well. Now this program finally, suppose say like a company is pushing for testing into the testing department. Your testing department person is one of the end user of your database management system application. So end user can be a direct client or end user can be other developers in your project also. Am I clear? Who are using your application, what you have developed. Am I clear with you? So end users, they conduct various operations on the database application for executing the business operations or testing the business operations for data retrieving, data collecting, data updating, and data deletion. So being a application programmer, don't you think that when you are testing your application after development, you are behaving like an end user for your own product? So our major concentration throughout our course will be with respect to what? Application programmer's role. When you are taking application programmer's role, automatically you are definitely taking the role of end user also, because your application, you should test it. And some 20% of this responsibility also will be covering through the course. That's where I said you are doing my course very properly from starting to ending by putting your whole effort, man. You can directly shoot the industry with a constructive criteria of around minimum 2+ years experience to up to 4+ years experience. You can definitely prove yourself. Sir, I'm just a fresher. Do I need this much of course? Yes. Why? Because once you go to your industry, you can work at par with the competition with all your seniors who are already working in the project since last 2 to 4 years, man. Don't you think that being a fresher, when you can work equivalent to the competitive state of 2 to 4 years experience people, you are highly identified? So now your concentration makes the major difference. Be very clear about that. So let us have a general view of a database application. See, we said very clearly that database applications are nothing but some kind of solution you're providing for a problem that is identified in the business. Do you agree with me? So technically, let us say like your client is asking that he wants a solution for managing his sales information, man. Okay. Your client is saying that he wants to design a solution for handling the sales. Now let us say like for every sale, I think we should have one sale ID. Do you agree with me? And every sale is executed on a specific date. So we need to definitely capture the date on which the sale has been conducted. Every sale is associated with one customer. So we need to have an idea of who is the customer who generated this particular sale. If your customer ID is identified, then the corresponding personal information of that customer also plays a very, very vital role. With the kind of sale type, whether your sale type is cash based or credit based. If your sale is fundamentally, say, like cash based, there is no issue. If it is credit based, then we should know for this customer what is the credit limit and the current credit limit we should check. To identify the customer more easily, I think I need a location where I can capture the address, and for clarity, I may need to even take the photograph. In one sale, we can have only one item or we can have multiple items also. So depending on that, I think I need a grid of environment where the details of items can be captured. Now, this kind of construct of representation, what we are showing to the client when he gave us the problem, this is generally called as a wireframe. Means we are just trying to design one form and we are giving this form to the end user, asking the end user, sir, if you are expecting that your sale has to be executed, is this information in the sale is enough or you need anything else? Your client will study according to his business and he will tell you these components are enough for me for one sale to be executed. These wireframes are generally designed by people called as UI UX developers or designers. Okay. Are you getting me? Hello. Now, once this form is accepted by the end user, these UI UX designers, they start discussing about this with your functional consultants who are domain experts. And a functional consultant will come and explain this form to you. Each item, what I showed you, as I was explaining, he may go over more detailed explanation to you. Like he's saying, your functional consultant is telling you that whenever a sale takes place, every sale should have one sale ID. And this sale ID should be unique by nature and it should be auto-generated. It should not be entered. And you are a SQL developer or you're an application developer. Now you cannot ask your functional consultant, sir, how I can keep sale ID unique or how I can auto generate the sale ID. The functional consultant says, I'm very sorry, man. I'm an MBA graduate. I know how to understand the business and what business needs. I will tell you what you have to do and how you do that. That is your own personal headache. So when he said that the sale ID should be unique and it should be auto-generated, then don't you think that I should have some location where exactly my information of sales is maintained? Where I should go and contact that location for maximum sale ID that is already existing previously. Taking that maximum sale ID, I have to return the current sale ID automatically means maximum sale ID plus one. Don't you think that it becomes the next sale ID? Do you agree with my logic there? Now, this logic, who should write? This logic, who should write? Tell me. Application programmer should write. Are you getting me? Application programmer should write. Maybe you call him as a developer. Now, once you said that, You know SQL and PLSQL. Once this course is completed, you are saying that you know SQL and PLSQL, man. As a senior, will I sit and teach you this logic in the industry, man? Hello. Will I teach you this logic in the industry? No. I will only give you the problem. Yes or no? I'll only explain the problem to you. Giving solution is your responsibility. Imagine you said you know SQL and PLSQL, and a simple question is being asked by the interviewer. I have a system where sales information has to be managed. Man. With every new sale, a new sale ID has to be generated. Can you give me any idea how this can be done? Imagine you're not explaining from your SQL what you learned or PLSQL what you learned for this question in the interview room. Don't you think that I will definitely try to keep yourself into a rejection? So your questions are always asked on the rule of the situation. You use which language, I don't care. But don't you think that one small program should run behind this particular form to get this sale ID? And that program, somebody called as an application developer should develop that. The same way, every sale should have a sale date. Try to understand how your functional consultant is explaining. Every sale should have a sale date, and this date should be exactly the current date that is running in the clock of the server. Means he is expecting this date to be entered or is expecting this date to be auto-generated. Tell me once again. Is expecting this date to be entered or it should be auto-generated? Auto-generated. So if this responsibility is given to you, as a developer, you should know how to contact your database server. But database server does not manages any date and time directly. So internally, it is the operating system that is handling this. Operating system does not have any intelligence of handling date and time directly unless and until on the kernel, a clock API is not running. And this clock API should go and contact the hardware clock that is existing on your hardware. And this hardware clock returns the corresponding date and time in so many layers, and that date and time will be returned in that location. If you said that you're an Oracle developer, why the hell I will care whether you know all this process or not? I'll come and only tell you, gentlemen, please see that whenever this form is managed, in this form, the date is automatically generated. That's all. The same way, when I'm executing a sale, don't you think that I need the customer details? Hello. Now he's saying that please see that the customer ID is an ID that is entered with the registered customers in our organization. If he's saying registered customers means, don't you think that you should have some information where all your customer data should be available? And from that particular customer data, when you click this drop down, the list of customer IDs should come and he will make a selection of the customer ID. Once the customer ID is selected, automatically the name of the customer, the address of the customer, the photograph of the customer, and if the customer has taken any previous credits, don't you think that the credit limit and the current limit should come automatically? Don't you think that this is all a program that should do this job automatically whenever the customer ID is selected? And if you are a application developer and you are technically not having clarity of how to write this program, after saying that you know Oracle in your resume, why I will select you? Then one customer can purchase only one item or many items. Tell me, many items. Now, can I sell any item that is not available in my stock? No. So don't you think that I need to have a location where all my item data is available and that item data should be set for this particular piece of the requirement? Now, if this form has to really operate, don't you think that in the background some 5 to 6 small or big programs should run to make all this process to get completed, man? If you say you're an application developer, and if all this process is explained to you, can you sit and develop this requirement as expected by me? Once you say that, you completed your Oracle with SQL and PLSQL. Therefore, sir, I can create a table. So what? Everybody can create a table who learns database. Sir, I can write a select statement. I can write an insert statement. Don't speak about the syllabus, what you know. When you are coming into the interview rooms of industrymen, please try to tell how you can apply and execute the syllabus in practical real time with respect to any project. So by the time you leave my sessions, I expect you to be a person who can support one database management system application with your SQL and PLSQL. I'm not expecting you to develop this front end. But behind this front end, whatever kind of activities happen by contacting your databases and your business operations, all that logic that is essential, you should be in a position to write confidently. Am I clear? Hello. So for developing any database application like this, we are trying to learn database from Oracleman. According to Oracle, what is a database? According to Oracle, database is nothing but it is a collection of business data in one or more number of data files. Okay, according to Oracle, database is a collection of data in one or more number of data files. Your Oracle database is a collection of logical structures and physical structures. These logical structures and physical structures, conceptually, you should understand initially, man. As you go matured into your learning, they become more clear. So what are logical structures as far as your Oracle is concerned? Logical structure according to Oracle is nothing but it is information in a database in an organized way. Means any information that you are providing where it is organized very properly according to the state of the requirement of that particular business, that is called as a logical structure. Every logical structure defines the hierarchy of information. It defines the relation between different parts of the database. Logical structures indicate how a database is actually built as opposed to what actually the database contains. Logical structures in Oracle generally include components called as table spaces, schema objects, and a construct of data blocks, extents, and segments, where much of the logical structures are always under the control of the DBS. But as an application developer, you should know which logical structure is essential for which particular part of the application development. You may not create the logical structures, when be very clear, much of the logical structures by 99% only DBS will handle them. But as a developer, you should know that logical structure is basically used for which purpose as part of your project. Am I clear? The second kind of structures are called as physical structures. So physical structures are nothing but such a kind of structures where your original business data will be managed. Means your actual business data will be managed in physical structures which are supported by logical structures. Therefore, if your logical structures are not planned properly, can you expect your physical structures to exist? No way. So physical structures are what the developer will create, the developer will operate. Logical structures are nothing but components that are coming from the Oracle Corporation. Your physical structures in Oracle, they are represented in the form of tables, indexes, synonyms, sequences, views, materialized views, database files, which we will be learning definitely as the construct of the process continues. Only to make you understand on the concept of the logical and physical structures, I just wanted to follow in the next 10 minutes what I'm doing on my screen, man. Okay. Don't worry about the language or anything what I'm using here. Now, generally, a problem always comes from the client. Do you agree with me? Hello. The problem always comes from the client. Yes. The solution always comes from whom? Can you tell me? The solution always comes from whom? I want everybody to answer. So quickly we come to a conclusion that it's developer. No. Solution also is from the client only. The approach for that solution will be from the developer. Am I clear? The methodology for achieving that solution will be from the developer. Am I clear with you? So developers are only concentrating on what? Developers are only concentrating on the approach of that particular solution. So your client is explaining that, watch carefully how your client is explaining. He's saying that I have some data, what I am collecting for students in a paper, in a manual form. Okay. This data is saying that is collecting in a manual form. Now, what he's saying that is collecting, is it not the solution what you should give to your end user for collecting from the computer? Now he's explaining the problem that when I'm working manually, I have to remember the previous student IDs to see that they don't get duplicated. It is becoming very difficult for me. Now, the student name and father's name, they should be collected only in uppercase, but it's not happening. My student's date of admission, sometimes we are forgetting to keep it. Sometimes manually when we are collecting the data, we are unable to collect the course information or we are missing. So client always gives you the problem with a functional solution. Am I clear? The client always gives you the problem with a functional solution. Is that point clear? Now, understanding that functional solution, what the client is expecting, as a software engineer, you should provide a technical solution as an application developer. You use any technology, I don't care, but using the technology, you should provide the solution. Imagine I'm very strong in C language. Then I'll try to provide solution using what? C language. If you are a person who is very strong in Java, then you'll try to provide the solution using what? Java. The same way you can just watch. Imagine I'm a C language developer. Don't you think that I'll try to design a technical solution by creating a structure called as student, where the structure called as student will be having all the components that are essential to represent these particular fields or not? Hello. Now you cannot use a structure directly. So you have to create an instance out of that particular piece of the structure. Now, without creating an instance out of that structure, we cannot implement in data collection. So remember one thing, this part of the structure is given by client. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? Hello. And this part of the structure you developed as a developer. Am I correct? So this is actually a structure developed by developer. And this is a structure given by end user. Am I correct? Now the structure that is directly given by end user, the structure becomes to the end user physical structure. Okay. But I want you to catch me with one thing. Can this particular structure that is designed by the developer, end user can understand directly when? Come on. No. So for end user, whatever structure you created, as a developer, that becomes logical structure. Okay. For the end user, that becomes a logical structure. Am I clear? Now, developer is the owner of this structure. Am I correct? For developer, what is this structure? Physical structure. Are you getting me? But developer developed the structure depending upon the logical structure by analysis. Yes or no? By analyzing this, I developed this. Do you agree with me? So what is physical structure for the end user? That becomes automatically what for your developer? Logical structure. So how you can buy hard a physical and logical structures mean? Logical and physical structures are on the perspective side of where you are participating in the project. Am I correct? So don't buy hard anything. Understand these things on the rule of concepts only. So for a person who is creating this MBA, for him this is physical structure, but he's creating this MBA by depending on this particular student. So for him, that student is a logical structure. Am I clear? In your project, your physical structures and logical structures are continuous evaluations, man, continuous evaluations. You cannot store any data directly. So are you not keeping the data in the RAM? So the data in the RAM, for a person who is developing the RAM integrated architecture, it is physical. But RAM cannot keep the data permanently. So are we not sending this particular data using the file for permanent storage into the system? And finally, are we not presenting the data to the end user by using some front-end technology? The area where you participate in your project, man, in relevance to that, your physical and logical structures will come into the picture. If suppose say like the same thing you're trying to do with the concept of Java, don't you think that a Java developer is developing the Java classes and objects by understanding the front-end wireframe that is given by the UI UX developer? So what UI UX developer has given, that becomes a logical structure to the Java developer. The classes and objects created by the Java developer, they become physical structures for him. But the classes and objects of Java cannot store the data permanently. So am I not contacting my database server and storing them in the form of tables and rows and columns, which becomes the internal architecture of database files. These database files, they cannot store permanently by themselves. So we have to store them definitely on the operating system. So anything we are keeping in the operating system is basically in the construct of the physical storage device like a hard disk. You take any small project or big project, don't you think that this kind of constructive flow should be there for that project to get completed, man? How many examples you will learn from my class is not important, man. But how best you will understand this particular flow as we complete our course is very important. So being a database developer is not really complicated, but making yourself comfortable that you can finally develop applications and give those applications that can really become real-time integrated solutions for end user is very important. By the time I complete my particular course, I'm only expecting you to become very strong in these particular areas. Am I clear? See, every class I told you is live recorded, man. If you really expect a second time revision after 3 or 4 hours, you just get into your Google Drive for the mail ID what you have given to us. There you can find the recorded session and you can revise that multiple times. Okay. Else you can directly connect to my YouTube channel where these classes, which are demos, will be available in recording there. And from there also you can have a look into the construct. Am I clear? Let us see what's waiting for us in next 24 hours. to understand the fundamental features of a database. Slowly, we'll be getting into the practical side of the construction, understanding the concepts very seriously. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Once again with you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Take care of yourself. Have a great day.